Adanna sat on the cold marble floor of her bedroom, sweat dripping from her forehead, her body trembling violently. The pain in her stomach was unbearable, twisting and tearing at her insides. Her silk nightgown clung to her skin, damp with sweat. She let out a guttural scream that echoed through the mansion, waking the entire household. Her mother, Madame Eunice, rushed into the room, her expensive wrapper barely tied around her chest. "Adanna! What is it?" she cried, kneeling beside her daughter. Adanna couldn't speak. Her lips trembled, and tears streamed down her face. The pain in her belly was like fire, an unnatural force ripping through her. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Her father, Chief Okafor, barged in, followed closely by the family doctor, Dr. Iminike, who had been on standby since Adanna started showing strange signs of pregnancy months ago. He took one look at her and knew time was against them. "She's in labor," Dr. Iminike announced, throwing open his medical bag. "But how?" Madame Eunice shrieked. "She's never been with a man. She's refused every suitor. How can she be pregnant?" No one had an answer. All they knew was that Adanna, their only child, their pride and joy, was about to give birth, and the mystery surrounding her pregnancy was something they had all refused to acknowledge until now. The doctor walked quickly, setting up a clean space on the bed. The maids ran around, bringing hot water and towels, while Chief Okafor paced the room like a madman. Then, as Adanna let out another agonizing scream, something unthinkable happened. A sharp, inhuman growl echoed through the room. Everyone froze. The air turned thick with fear. The dog. Bruno. Chief Okafor's gaze snapped to the corner of the room, where the massive, jet-black Rottweiler lay on the floor, its glowing amber eyes locked onto Adanna. A deep growl rumbled in its throat, almost as if it understood what was happening. "Get that dog out of here," the doctor barked, but no one dared move. Bruno didn't budge. Instead, his tail flicked, his ears pricked forward, and his eyes narrowed, watching, waiting. Then, with a final, blood-curdling scream, Adanna convulsed and fell still. The room went silent. Madame Eunice gasped, clutching her chest. "Is she?" The doctor leaned over, his hands trembling as he checked her pulse. His face paled. "She's gone." A wail tore through the mansion. Chief Okafor fell to his knees, his world shattering. His beloved daughter, the one he had spoiled beyond measure, was gone. And then, a sound. A small, weak cry. The doctor turned to the bed, his breath caught in his throat. The baby. But what he saw next made his heart stop. Lying between Adanna's lifeless legs was a newborn unlike any they had ever seen. A child covered in thick black fur, with sharp, claw-like fingers and piercing amber eyes. A child that looked more beast than human. Bruno stood, his head tilting slightly, his tongue flicking out as if tasting the air. Then, for the first time since he had been brought into this house, he did something strange. He smiled. Adanna was born into wealth, luxury, and boundless affection. Chief Okafor and his wife, Madame Eunice, had waited years to have a child. When Adanna finally arrived, they spared no expense in making her happy. She had everything: gold-plated jewelry, designer clothes, the latest phones, and cars before she could even drive. Servants catered to her every need. No one dared refuse her anything. But with wealth came arrogance. Adanna grew into a spoiled, entitled young woman. She never took responsibility for her actions, never learned the meaning of hard work, and never respected anyone outside of her parents. By the time she turned 18, she was feared and envied by many. Suitors lined up to ask for her hand in marriage, young men from wealthy backgrounds, promising businessmen, even royalty. But she turned them all down. "I am not ready for marriage," she would sneer. "I have everything I need." Her parents never pressured her. After all, she was their princess. But then, on her 21st birthday, Chief Okafor made a decision that changed everything. He bought her a dog. A Rottweiler named Bruno. Bruno was not an ordinary dog. From the moment he was brought into the mansion, the air around him felt different. The servants were wary of him, claiming his eyes held something unnatural, something almost human. But Adanna adored him. She treated him like a person, even more than a person. He slept in her room, ate from golden plates, and wore custom-made collars embedded with diamonds. Over time, a strange bond formed between them, one that defied nature. She would whisper to him in the dead of night, and he would listen. She would stroke his fur, and his body would shudder like a man enjoying a lover's touch. The maids noticed. They whispered. They feared. And then, the unthinkable happened. Adanna began to change. She grew distant, her skin paler, her eyes darker. She refused to leave her room for days, speaking only to Bruno. Then, the sickness started. Morning nausea. Fatigue. A growing belly. Her mother panicked. The doctor was called. Tests were done. Impossible, Dr. Iminak murmured, staring at the results. Adanna was pregnant. But there was no man. At least, no human man. Her parents refused to believe it. They accused the doctor of lying, the maids of spreading rumors. But deep inside, Chief Okafor knew the truth. One night, he entered his daughter's room while she was asleep, determined to find answers. What he saw made his blood turn to ice. Adanna lay in bed, cradling Bruno like a lover. The dog's eyes glowed eerily in the darkness, and his tongue flicked over her cheek. And in that moment, Chief Okafor understood. His daughter had been taken by something unholy. Something unnatural. But it was too late. Too late to stop what had already begun. Adanna's death shook the entire city. The truth of her pregnancy was never spoken aloud, buried beneath whispers of curses and divine punishment. Chief Okafor and Madame Eunice disappeared from the public eye, drowning in grief and shame. But the child, the beast she had birthed, lived. And Bruno remained by its side. Watching. Waiting. Smiling.